Hello and welcome to the Road End podcast, where each week we will speak to a new guest, get to know them, and talk all things Liverpool.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Road End podcast. I'm pleased to say today I'm joined by James Sutton. James features on Hollyoaks. James is also a massive Red. Nice one for joining, James. How are you?
Pleasure, mate. Yeah, I'm doing well, man. I'm having a good week. Having a good week work-wise, feeling productive. It's actually quite nice to have a little break from football. You know, I know we're all obsessed and it makes up a huge part of our lives, but it's nice sometimes to have a little break and get other stuff done and, you know, have a little bit of space in your head that isn't taken up by this bloody football team.
And we needed it at the minute, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. Absolutely.
Been a bit of a difficult one, hasn't it, so far?
Yeah, it's been tough. I think it was inevitable, not strengthening perhaps every position that we not getting in the players that I think we'd identified. Part and parcel of having such a specific way of recruiting players means that if they're not available for whatever reason, or they, in our case, go to a Spanish team, it leaves us short. And we're not a team that's going to get in players just for the sake of it, as we've proven. And I think as the sort of summer went on, and the sort of furore around getting a midfielder in got louder and louder, and then obviously injuries to our captain and a few others. I think it was inevitable that we were going to have a difficult start to the season. But what I would say is that we're not actually that far behind the teams at the top, and I think there's a lot of noise and a lot of drama from Liverpool fans, certainly on social media. I think I've seen people saying the season's over already. I just think, mate, come on, go and support another team, like seriously. No. So we'll pick up points. It'll all be good. I think we'll be there or thereabouts. Whether we win the league, that's not really. I think that's in our control with it coming up against a team like City. But I certainly think we'll be in the running for trophies towards the end of the season, and actually a slow start in the Champions League. Some of our best runs have come off the back of slow starts.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried about anything, but it has been a difficult start, hasn't it? My God.
Yeah, we're used to the standards, aren't we? And because them standards haven't been set, it's just a bit like, oh, what's going on? I'm not used to this.
I mean, the derby was a perfect example of that. A kind of microcosm of where we are and what we expect out of a derby. I mean, it was just completely flat. There was just nothing to kind of celebrate or really be massively positive about. It was just another, but I think, as I say, I think the break will do us good. And actually, perversely, I think the World Cup will probably do us good as well.
Yeah, a few of the key players will be not playing that, will they? So
exactly. If you look at our players that aren't going, we're in good shape.
Just open Trent doesn't go because I feel like he needs the rest. He's
had a really difficult start. Actually wasn't great towards the end of last season either. No. But again, as you said, he's set that benchmark, and then if he fails to reach it, we all know Trent's world class. That's why he's always on. His name's always on people's lips. He's always being compared to. Everyone is compared to Trent Alexander-Arnold, and we have to forget he's young. We have to forget he's young. We have to remind ourselves of that. Steven Gerrard at his age, was still having off games, was still not a mainstay in the team, was still competing. So there's room for improvement there. But look, we'll come good. We'll come.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's a journey, isn't it? It's a journey.
Just tell us a little bit how you got into acting then, because I believe you had a little let's say dabble at something.
A little dabble
at a bingo calling, is this right?
No, so that actually came after I'd been to drama school. So I'd already made the decision to be an actor by then. I had to make the decision. You don't really make the decision to become an actor. You're either an actor or you're not. It's it's one of those things. It's a calling, some would say. But yeah, I started acting when I was 8 years old. My mum sent me to the theatre when I was 8 years old in the summer holidays, because she was on her own, single parent, 2 kids, knew that I needed to kind of burn some energy and, I was quite a creative kid. So they used to do a summer school at the theatre. So I joined and then I joined other theatre groups, and then I was just constantly doing plays all year round. I was rehearsing for one, putting on another, and it was just this kind of sort of became kind of what I did really. And then went to drama school, got a degree in acting for whatever that's worth. I'm not entirely sure. No one's ever asked to see it. And then moved to London and had a couple of active jobs. I did Dream Team, the football show.
That was me growing up. That was brilliant.
Yeah, I did a 3-part. I played the lead in a 3-part series set in the 80s. But in amongst that time when I was living in London, my sort of day job was as working in a bingo hall. It was grim. It was really grim. It's not an inspirational place. It was very much, you'd see people and they'd cash their, they get their dole money or they cash their, whatever, allowance check. And then they just sit in front of a fruit machine and just banging pound after pound. And you just think like, guys, come on. And then you'd get your lovely old ladies, in there. It was like, it was fine. It was just, it was a stopgap.
You've got to do what you've got to do, haven't you? At the time?
Absolutely. I've been very, very lucky since I moved up to Liverpool and started on Hollyoaks. I haven't needed to normal job. Yeah. So I've been very, very lucky because I haven't got a fucking clue what I do.
At least you're honest.
Yeah, I write and direct, and I've just produced a sitcom that's coming out later this year. So I'm always going to be involved in kind of creative things, but I'm very lucky that I have a day job as well behind all that. I get to go to Line Pictures and do Hollyoaks, which is great. It's like 10 minutes. The studio's like 10 minutes from my house, and it's kind of perfect. That's why I've left the show twice and then come back, and they're always very very good at letting me go away and kind of do all those other things and bits of theatre and stuff, and then go back and pick up where I left off, which is a really nice position to be in.
That's good. So do you have to still pretend that it's in Chester, or?
What it used to be, they used to really hammer that home, like, this is Chester, everybody. But now I don't know, they've kind of just sort of given up on that, really. I mean, we have the kind of fake Chester wall, but yeah, it's all shot in Liverpool. It's all here in Chilwell.
I've read a little bit about your struggles with mental health. Now, as I've mentioned, I don't like poking too much into things, but I also believe that talking about it is the only way to sort of
absolutely.
I've had a tough year, which is common knowledge to everyone around me. But in terms of mental health in your recent years, what coping mechanisms did you find helped yourself?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I'm sure me and all your listeners are, sorry to hear that you've had a tough year, and we wish you every success and hope that you seem in a good place, and I hope that continues, man. It's great to see you're not on your own. You must know that you're not. What you're feeling feels very, very personal to you. What we all feel in our own heads feels very personal, but actually it's an experience that's shared by millions of men worldwide. We all have days, we all have weeks, we all have things. I had a panic attack about a month ago, quite a bad one. I haven't had a panic attack for 6-7 years now. Yeah, it was a bad one. I felt it was coming. I felt quite disjointed. I felt like I was sort of watching myself. It was quite a sort of out of body experience, which is quite an odd thing. And then I had a big panic attack, and that's taken me a few weeks to get over. But I try and there are things that you can do, certainly things that I do to try and kind of alleviate that. So you've got all the tools there. So when you do feel bad or your mental health does slide, if you've got the tools in place and you know your own mind and body and know what helps, that's really good. So it's worth doing is when we are feeling strong and when we're not feeling like we're struggling, that's the time to put in place all the coping mechanisms and the tools. That's the time to make them part of your daily routine, so that when you are suffering, you go, right, I know what I can do to get myself back on track, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
And for me, it's going to the gym. I would urge everybody. There's no excuse. We can all spare 4 hours a week. And if you can't afford a gym membership, 4 hours at home, there are loads of stuff on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok, loads of workouts you can do. It's the most important thing. It is the most important thing. If you've got a healthy body, you've got a healthy mind. If you sat around and you're not looking after your body, you're already in a dangerous place, because the mind will inevitably follow. So I start my days in the same way. I get up early. I'm up at 6 o'clock ish, 5:30 sometimes. Cup of coffee, mindfulness, meditation, gratitude. I start to keep a gratitude diary now. Write down things I'm grateful for every morning, and it just helps. It just helps to give you a little bit of perspective, because when you're feeling crap, and when you're feeling like, heavy, like the weight of everything, financial worries, or job worries, children worries, career, whatever it is, can feel very, very heavy. Sometimes we forget that actually we've got, parents are still alive, perhaps, or friends. You've got great mates. We get to watch the Reds. We get to do podcasts and talk about the Reds. We have to, it's worth noting all the things you're grateful for. Mindfulness, meditation, gratitude, and get your ass to the gym and put on some fucking loud, heavy music and lift some really heavy circles, and just
I've noticed that from looking at you now. I can see that you've clearly piled it on.
I'm just working hard, man. I'm just working really, really hard, and I do it because it gives me clarity, and it gives me, an hour and a half a day, or I train probably 5 or 6 times a week now, so it is on the excessive side. But I do it because that time in the gym is my time. I switch off from everything. If I'm worried about that, doesn't matter. All I'm focused on is what I'm doing. My own body, the mind-muscle connection. What am I lifting? My form. Am I going up in weight? Am I going up in reps? And just really pushing myself. And that there's no one ever regrets going to the gym. Like, no one regrets it. You don't regret it. You sleep better. You have more energy. Your mood is better. You're more patient. You're more productive. Physically, you're better. And so there's all these things that are kind of part and parcel of it, really. And talking as well is the other thing. You've got to have these conversations. I remember a couple of months back when Paddy Pimblett spoke out after his UFC win, and everything he said was absolutely spot on. If it's a choice between, if you were a friend of someone and they were suffering, if it was a choice between them talking to you, and it's not easy, it's not easy, but if it's a choice between talking to you or them having to speak at your funeral, it's a fucking no-brainer.
Agreed.
So we've just got to be kind to ourselves, and like I say, putting all these things in place while you're feeling strong and while you're feeling positive, that's the key. So that when you do inevitably have a tough week or a tough month, or have to deal with something unexpected, all of a sudden you get hit with a tax bill that you can't pay, or whatever it is, rather than that feeling like the end of the world, you go, actually, no, I've got some context here and I can work my way through it,
Yeah. I mean, that's good, because obviously everyone has their own coping mechanisms. But I think what you're saying in terms of the gym and also talking about it, that's been like my biggest thing. So just getting out there, even if you get out for a walk, even if you just get out there, talk to one of your mates, or it's a stranger. Sometimes a stranger's like the best way, because that way they know nothing about you, but everything's neutral. Now, I was never one to talk, and I've had breakdowns behind closed doors that I didn't want to share with anyone. But I've tend to find that now everyone else has their own problems, but talking about them, whether you discuss it all, it's just nice to get it off your shoulders. It's like to get that weight off you, isn't it?
Absolutely. A problem shared is a problem halved. It's completely true. I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky. I can afford a private therapist. I see a private therapist twice a month. I'm very lucky in that. I know that people don't have that option because the NHS is on its knees, and the waiting list for therapists and to help with mental health is horrendous. So don't vote for fucking Tories, anyone watching this. Get them out. Let's get those bastards out, because we need change. But that really, that for me is amazing. As you said, I'm speaking to a complete stranger who doesn't know. I mean, he knows a lot about me now, but don't know him personally, and I can just offload everything, and it's the same with a friend or a colleague, just someone that you trust or you think they might be a good listener. You'd be surprised, man. You'd be surprised. If someone said to me or you, or if someone said, if you got 10 minutes, I just could use a chat. No one's going to say no.
No.
They might not have the answers, but just to offload it just really, really helps.
Definitely. And I just want to thank you for sharing stuff like that, because, I believe that I want people to listen to this, but every episode is going to be different. But I also want to get people in who have this first-hand experience of things and how they deal with things, because, like you said, it's important. Now, even if they don't want to speak about it, I hope once they've heard this, they then do something about it.
Absolutely.
Because we've all been there, and it's not. I'm trying to figure out the right words. People get embarrassed that they have to mention it, or people are scared to say it because they don't want to feel weak, and that's obviously not what it is. Because the stronger you are is when you speak.
That's it. I tell you something. I put something on my Instagram about a year ago now. I had a little chat, put a video up, a reel. I think it's still on my Instagram if anyone wants to watch it, about how I was struggling. And I hadn't told anyone at work or my family what I was going through at that point. And I went into work that same week, and the amount of people who came up to me and just went, "Well, you all right?"
Yeah.
Just checked in, went, "Really, that was fucking great. Really, that meant a lot." And the amount of people that went, "Actually, I needed to hear that because I'm not doing too great either." The people that you wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
Never feel ashamed or embarrassed or times are tough. This is a tough world we live in. This is hard right now. This is hard. Everyone is feeling anxious. The whole world is feeling anxious. There's so much uncertainty. From a financial point of view, from an economical point of view, from a global point of view, from an environmental point of view, for the future, we there's a lot of anxiety right now, and I certainly feel it, and I know a lot of people I know feel it. So take comfort, anyone listening, that you're not alone, and that a lot of people are feeling the same as you.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, thanks for sharing your experience, and hopefully, whether it helps one person or whether it helps 100 people, that's what we want. So let's move on to the Liverpool now. Obviously, we've mentioned a little bit earlier. What's your earliest memory as a Liverpool supporter?
Gosh, I mean, I didn't get the opportunity to go to Anfield until 2007, I think. But growing up, I'm a child of the 80s.
Yeah.
So when I first became kind of sentient and like I'm now into football, was when Liverpool were great. We were brilliant.
Yeah.
Sort of 89, 90 season, which I think was the last time we won the league prior to recent, I think. So we were top of the pile. So our matches were televised a lot, and there was the FA Cup finals and things. And it always felt like Liverpool were involved. And then I got into collecting the football stickers, as loads of kids do, and all that kind of stuff. I had my John Barnes poster on the wall. Ian Rush, Kenny, of course. That was they were the boys. And then a bit sort of later on, Steven Gerrard. But my stepdad, when he first met my mum, brought her on a date to Liverpool. It was a mucky weekend. There's no polite way of saying it. He took my mother on a mucky weekend to Liverpool, and when they weren't in the bedroom, he found time to buy me a Liverpool shirt. So he came back with a Liverpool shirt for me. There's actually a picture of it on my Instagram. Me and my dad when I was a kid. He bought me the candy shirt with the diamonds on. The John Barnes.
Brilliant. Shirt. Yeah.
It's one. It's still I love. Oh, what a shirt! What a shirt! And that was it. Basically, that was it. It was like, right, that's my team. And then the next, I'm trying to think when the next time I saw them live. Yeah, it would have been about 2007. I think I probably would have seen them live because I was at drama school in Cardiff. So I desperately tried to get tickets for that final in Cardiff.
Yeah.
But
is that the FA Cup?
The FA Cup, that's right.
What a game.
What a game. That would have been 2006. 2006, I think. Yeah, that was when I was in drama school. But yeah, once I finished and obviously, taking the job up here, I mean, it was just like, it couldn't have been more perfect. It was like, do you want to come, like Hollyoaks have offered you a 2-year deal. Do you want to come and live in Liverpool? It's like, so yeah, it was perfect. And ever since I've been very lucky, I do, got involved with the Anfield Rap, very early on in their sort of conception, really, their first kind of season, when we used to record up in Parr Street, and then got involved with the Redmen TV as well.
Yeah,
worked with Chris and Paul again from when they used to do it in Paul's back room of his house. When it was bed sheets up on Redmen TV written on a bed sheet. And so it's very lucky. I'm very very lucky. I get to do these things and talk to people like yourself and go to the match and I've met a lot of my heroes. Now I've sat down with Kenny Dalglish and
I've seen that picture.
Oh, I mean, what a gracious guy, man. I mean, we were at it was Steve Rotherham's birthday party actually, and he was there and he was on his own. He was with his lovely wife and she nipped off and he was on his own. And I thought, I've got to go over.
Yeah,
and everyone wants 5 minutes, and honestly, he couldn't have been more gracious. Sit down. Also, talk to me about, who are you, what do you do, big football fan, how you like the Reds, all right? And I was like, fuck it, I'm just sat with Kenny Dalglish. I've met John Barnes quite a few times as a sort of running joke that we sort of bump into each other at all the kind of same events and stuff. And every time I see him, I tell him that he was my hero, and he's like, James, you've told me 5 times now, James. It's getting embarrassing now, James. That lovely voice of his.
This is where the acting comes into things, because that voice is brilliant.
Yeah. But yeah, like I say, very very lucky to kind of to be sort of part of I don't know, LFC culture or whatever, I guess at the moment.
With the likes of Kenny, they say never meet your heroes, but the people that I've actually spoke to, I don't think I've heard a bad word. Gracious,
generous with his time. Just a genuinely great human being. That's all you can say.
Yeah, and what more could you want?
What more could you want? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I met a couple of the more recent players. I've met Stevie and McManaman, Fowler. Bumped into all these guys at some point, and you just wow. I mean,
yeah,
it's just.
Still get that little nervous feeling.
God, it's you just these guys mean the world to us.
Yeah,
mean the world to us. I've sung your song I've sang your song at the top of my lungs. I've kicked every ball you've kicked. I've punched the air for you. It's very very special. It's a special football club. For what it means, what it stands for. The values, that it holds are the same as my values, the same as Jurgen Klopp's values, and yes, there's been mistakes made along the way with from our owners and prior to that as well, but that's just part and parcel of it. I think, very lucky to support this club and to experience what we've been experiencing in recent years.
You couldn't have put it better, to be fair. I think we're all lucky, aren't we? You'd rather be on this side of the park. But anyway, international break. And I think we all got a little bit of a shock last night when we seen that Henderson was called up. He's been out for a few weeks, hamstring injury. Last thing I wanted and expected was him going to England, because we all know it stinks of bad news. It seems to me more... He's like the leader, isn't he? He's the modern leader. So it sounds like to me he's either being called up just for the mentality of the players, or they actually genuinely want to play him, which I don't think is going to happen. What do you think?
No, I don't expect him to have any game time. I'd be very, very surprised. England have got a lot of midfielders, a lot of young midfielders, and I think for these games, specifically, they'll want to be playing the youngsters, and actually, Jordan Henderson, I think, listen, I love the guy. He's, delivered more than any of us could possibly imagine as a captain,
himself as well.
Exactly, the journey that he's been on as well, the doubts and nearly being sold, and everybody doubted him, and he's delivered. But I think it's fair to say that his best years are probably behind him now, I think, as a captain. Mm-hmm. But from a dressing room standpoint and from what he brings, there's no one else like him. Like Harry Kane might be the official captain, But Harry Kane isn't an inspirational figure. Harry Kane's not someone that I've never heard. You don't hear many players, sort of wax lyrical about how good Harry Kane is as a captain. Yeah. He's a prolific goal scorer, an incredible striker, but he's not he's not someone that's
left in the room.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you're going behind, you go in at half time behind, or you have a bad result or whatever. You need someone like Jordan Henderson or a James Milner. These are the sort of lads that you need, around you to lift you up and give you that, turn things into a bit of a positive. So, and I think that's why Jordan Henderson's there. And there will have been conversations as well with I know Klopp has a good relationship with the England setup now. And he will have had final say, I think, on whether Jordan can go. So I'm not.
I mean, 32 pushing 33. The last thing you want to do is risk a hamstring.
Yeah.
We asked our guests to choose their ultimate five-a-side team who they've seen live playing for Liverpool. Let's find out what they said.
At the end of each episode, I've been asking the guests for the ultimate five-a-side. Now, this is from your early days, what you've seen, whether it be TV, whether it be in real life. So I'll let you take the stage.
So I can pick any player.
Yeah, any player you've seen in your lifetime.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jesus. Okay. Alisson Becker's the best goalkeeper I've ever seen. I mean, I used to love Pepe Reina. Yeah, some of the saves he could pull out were just, insane. But Alisson Becker's got absolutely everything. I mean, he can score. He can score.
Yeah.
But his vision and he's so good with his feet, which I don't think you can underestimate. The kind of Alisson Becker's the most modern sort of version of a goalkeeper. Yeah. So I don't think you can. I don't think you can overlook him. And again, I have to stick with. For defenders, I have to stick with Liverpool. Virgil van Dijk. He is right now. He is the benchmark. He's what everyone's compared to. He's just got absolutely everything. Yeah, everything that Virgil van Dijk has brought to this team, and it really felt like he was the final piece that was missing. Definitely. It really felt like we were desperate. We were desperate for a proper defender. You look back, historically. Players like Sami Hyypiä. Used to love Sami Hyypiä. Jamie Carragher, outstanding. Mm-hmm. I actually had a bit of a soft spot for Daniel Agger. I don't think he was particularly brilliant, but I had a real soft spot for him. But Virgil van Dijk, cool as a cucumber. So Alisson Becker, Virgil van Dijk. I'm gonna need a midfielder, aren't I? I'm gonna need Steven Gerrard,
of course,
in there, because you can't not, can you?
No.
You've got to have Steven Gerrard. It's funny, isn't it? We watched him week in, week out, and you try as hard as you can to make the most of Steven Gerrard. You don't know what you've got till it's gone. And my God, when he retired, I missed him. Jesus Christ.
Oh no, same.
It was, yeah. We could have had another season out, Steve. Yeah. We could have had another. If James Milner was still playing now,
no.
Steven Gerrard could have had another. But it was Brendan Rodgers. So then let's choose a couple of goal scorers, shall we? I'm going to go with Fernando Torres.
Yeah.
Because peak Fernando Torres.
Yeah.
Just. Wow.
Turning people inside out, wherever he wanted. Yeah.
And him and Gerrard linking up as well. It was just, they had like a sixth sense.
Yeah,
it was telepathic. It was insane. The goals that he scored, every type of goal. I definitely have him. And then probably controversially, I'm not going to have Mo Salah.
I know you're going with.
I'm going to have Luis Suarez.
Yeah, of course.
Now, the season with I could have had Daniel Sturridge and Suarez, actually, because that season, that 13-14 season, my stepdad came up to Anfield with me. I think he must have seen 6 games, I reckon, with me. So it's a really special season for me because I was sat next to my dad.
Yeah.
Which, as you know, as anyone who's been to the match with their dad, it's a special thing. Man.
Yeah.
It just is. My dad gets really sweary at the football as well, and he's very mild-mannered, softly spoken, very, gentle Yorkshireman. But you put him in a football ground, my God, the language that comes out of that man's mouth. And so we watched that season of Luis Suarez and the things he did he could not make a mermaid, couldn't he?
Yeah.
You look at that goal. It's that goal against Newcastle, I think, sums him up perfectly. The long ball over the top.
Pulls it out the sky.
Pulls it out the sky, rounds the keeper without even missing a step, a beat, a breath. It's in the back of the net in the space of half a second. That, and the goals against Norwich,
I kind of feel like with that Suarez goal against Newcastle that Enrique takes too much credit with that. Suarez deserves the assist and the finish.
I know Jose quite well, and he'll never let that one go.
No,
he'll never let that one go.
I wouldn't. You're part of one of the best goals you'll ever see.
Let's be honest, he just levered it.
Yeah,
he just levered it. That'd be my team. I reckon that five-a-side team would take on anyone in the world. Anyone in the world.
You've got Virgil, you've got Alisson. I think the three of them, even at their age now, would still do a decent job.
Yeah, absolutely. Ballers. Absolute ballers.
I'd like to thank you for the episode, to be honest, mate, because it's been brilliant. I'm hoping to God that someone listens and takes on board what you're saying and what we talked about. So, again, I'd like to thank you for today. I hope we can catch up soon. And hopefully, at the end of the season, we've got a few trophies to lift.
Hell yeah, I'll take that all day.
Thanks to everyone for listening to today's episode. Don't forget to follow our social media, twitter.com/theroadendpod, and also our Instagram page, instagram.com/theroadendpod.